So, from our perspective, today it's become a seamless content world. And I'm very happy to have Paul Barbaro, who looks after Asia for MIPCOM and MIPTV and MIP Markets.
Thank you, Anil, for having me here and giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm very thankful for that. I've been traveling India for the last couple of weeks, and here is unfortunately my last day here, but I've been working for Midem since more than 15 years. I've been actually Midem, for the ones who do not know, are the organizers of MIPTV and MIPCOM, which are the largest content distribution markets of the world. They are taking place twice a year in the south of France. And this is giving me the opportunity to travel the world, to travel Asia, to travel India, to work with Anil Wanvari since many, many years now. And we are servicing the Indian industry when it is about going internationally and launching shows. And we'll see, and what is very interesting in the discussion is that now we see more and more and more IPs coming out from India, which are actually going global.
So this is what, this is what Ted Sarandos said on the 22nd of January. He said, a good story told well is a global product. This was during but he's a guy called Louis Fonsi, and this is from a song called Despacito. Justin Bieber adapted it, and at that stage it had done about 4 billion views. Right now it's running at in excess of 5 billion views. So it's a Latin American song, which is, a Spanish song which has traveled the world, and we danced to it, we listened to it.
I think it echoes this storytelling also. A Puerto Rican singer with a song could actually reach 5 billion views on YouTube. This is the most watched video ever on YouTube, right, today?
Yes, very much. It used to be Psy, but then this guy's really overtaken it. And of course, then you have the pirated versions could be run. Tell me what's common to all these films. How many of you can take a guess? Come on, you guys should at least take a shot at it. What's common to all these films? I have Bhupin Chawda in front. What's common to all these films? Anyone else who wants to take a shot? No? Continue. What were you saying? Okay, what's common to them is a gentleman called Anil Ambani. Yes, very much. So, people kind of write him off, but he's invested in this great movies like The Post, which is doing very well, at least critically in America, and it's been nominated for quite a few Golden Globe Awards. So I'll hand it over to you now, Paul.
Sorry about this big text, but it's just some case study and explanations of what are the great stories of programs which have been actually very, very local, which are finally finding since many years, since more than 10 or 15 years at our shows, MIPTV and MIPCOM, they are local from global. This is just an example, misses a little bit the title, but this is an example from how, for example, Israeli programs, formats, have been so successful over the world. Did you know that, for example, even not only on formats, but also on drama series, such as this very big hit into the US Homeland. Homeland is basically based out of an Israeli drama series. So, building a fan base overseas can only boost the revenue potential. At the end, that's it. Israeli is actually a very, very small country compared to its population and to its reach. But this is the example of Rising Star. I think Rising Star is
very much in India. It's very much there in India.
Not in France, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's not. There's no recipe for success into that, but
it's done very well in other territories. In the US, it's done Brazil, Spain, Indonesia, Italy. France, it's gone, like you said. Mm-hmm. Russia, the Nordic region, and China.
What is interesting in this case is that Rising Star have been coming all over the world, but with a very nice new mix of new technologies, new ways of consumption. Like, for example, Rising Stars you can play live. That's what the new technologies are, really new in terms of storytelling, in terms of engaging people. And Rising Star has been the first to use this. Now, I know many of you are actually watching, maybe not watching TV anymore, but maybe these are the ones from my generation that are still watching TV. You normally have an iPad, an iPhone, you're on social networks, etc. This is the first show who has included it into the show itself. You could vote live to the rising star and have the screens coming in. So these kinds of new...
It's a top-rated non-fiction show in India.
It has been launched at MIP, maybe I think it was
3 years ago.
3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. So, Colors is very happy with that, correct me if I'm wrong. So this is another trend that we've noticed, because digital is growing at a very rapid pace. Paul?
We often hear about the rise of OTT platforms, right? Without really knowing what it is, etc. From my perspective of the organizers of MIP-TV and MIPCOM, which are the largest markets in the world, the key numbers for us are we nearly have 5,000 buyers on MIPCOM and MIP-TV. Only those people are buying content for their platforms. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was 500 individuals only. Now they are counting more than 2,000. So if you take those, I've been actually taking this slide, is actually the digital video incremental revenue market share over the Southeast Asia markets, for example. So in black, it's all about pay TV. In red, sorry for the quality, it's not so. In red, it's free to air, and on orange, it's online video. So when it is about going internationally, I think that, well, it's not a strategy. It is actually implied that you would have to get in touch and to tackle first those OTT platforms, which are, for example, if you want to enter the Singapore market, it's all about digital. There are some countries still where, in Philippines, for example, and Indonesia, there's still free-to-air, which is actually quite big. But look at Vietnam, which is only on pay TV. Look at Taiwan, finally, which is really online video. So if you take more mature market like Japan, Korea, there's a mix. They're really not on the same. Here is India. India is still over on nearly 75% on pay TV. So it's growing. But all over the world, this phenomenon is really different country by country.
Yeah, Paul, but since the time this presentation was done, Reliance wasn't there when they did the forecast. Reliance has changed everything.
With GeoTV, right?
Yeah, with GeoTV.
So just to name but a few, just for you to know, the actors out there, only in Southeast Asia, which are creating, and in business, lots of producers and owners of IPs in the world now are also creating their own OTT platforms. Not their YouTube channels, but their own OTT platform. But this, just to name but a few, Hong Kong, Australia, Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, and of course we have all those Netflix, iFlix, which is actually a South Asian regional actors, which is really growing very fast. But you see that in each country, Hook, which is also Pan-Asian, View, which is very strong in Hong Kong. So these are just a few examples of names of OTT platforms, like iQIYI from China, which are really now the big players, which are the actors who, for me as a consumer, are putting content very affordable and accessible from all over the world.
So this is some data which we came across. Netflix, when it's dubbing a show and it's been consumed in different parts of the world, it's doing very well. So in Italy, the same show is dubbed, it's doing very well. The same show is being dubbed, it's doing extremely well in different countries. The only places where dubs are not doing well are in, I can't see the colors, it's in Poland. Yeah, probably in Japan, is it? That's Japan, 28%? Okay. So probably the Japanese like watching everything in Japanese itself. But in other parts of the world, or in English, they like watching it in English rather than in Japanese. The show that they're watching. So this is something which Mr. Gurjeev Kapoor had stated, we interviewed him and this is what he said. We could mail the slide to you, but what he says is that you've got to think global, you can't think local at all. And there are audiences out there who want to buy your content, and the content is very popular in different parts of the world. The same is being experienced by When India Cast, by Colors and by C, by even Porus, by Siddharth Tiwari. He'll be on stage in a short while, he'll tell you where he sold his show and what kind of potential he's seeing in these markets.
We're really talking about storytelling again. I love the questions about mythology earlier before. Sorry if we're talking a lot about drama series, about drama here, But we could have the same thing for animation. We'll come back to that, animation and kids content, a little bit later on. But I think this is that. On my position, I'm able to travel the world and see, of course, it is a fantastic tower of observation of the trends ongoing. And I may say that mythology, for example, is not a barrier for people from outside to learn about that. From France, for example, I'm really interested into that. But it's just the way of telling the story, which might be adapted so that content can have a more global appeal on that. I don't have the recipe. The idea is just things are working out there. Today, Z, for example, is airing prime time in Turkey with a drama series. We could take, we'll talk about that, but porous examples are actually in the face of expanding worldwide with the IP. So these things are really, really happening. Like we've been hearing earlier before that Green Gold is actually the third show in Indonesia. All these happened into those international platforms and markets such as MIG-TV and Midem. So that's the world we're in. There's a potential for any content to find its audience around the world. And there's an appetite for that. There's an appetite also for Indian content, the storytelling, which in terms of culture, we have the same, right? In terms of
countries
the
like
root
Turkey
of
have understood it, countries like Turkey, and they've really grown their markets. All we've got to do is keep in mind production quality, keep in mind the right storytelling, the treatment, and not, and not limit ourselves with just India. Think global.
And it's about storytelling again. We've been meeting with Hula Studios. We'll come back on that a little bit later. Here is the world we're living in. Well, nothing new, right? But
There's
just
information, there's recommendation coming from games, from catch-up, from there's gamification happening again, there's sharing happening through social media, there's engagement happening through mobile apps, through some other synchronization app, they're producing exclusive content, which Colors is winning with Big Boss, and which they put out on the mobile platforms. So, and then you have smart TVs which are having exclusive content, movies which are being put into the smart TV when you buy it. So, it's a very complicated world there for the user.
But in terms of production, you need to think this ahead, in the sense of nowadays, yes, it's true, the content is not consumed as it used to be. And as a producer, you also have to learn about that. There's a lot of short forms. It can be while I'm actually having the show on TV, I will be going with my kid next to me. I will have the app playing on, so my kid is next to me watching the show. I mean, there's so many ways to interact today. So in terms of production, when you are launching also an animation or whatever, an IP, you have to think really more global today. Well, this is nothing new, but when you see these kinds of slides, it talks from itself.
So this is a reiteration of that fact. I think we've said, the point has been made that they're traveling in many territories.
A few examples is that I take these two things into drama again. It's not animation, but it's on drama. We had these two phenomena coming out in the market over the next 10 years or even 5 years. First is Turkish drama, which is actually something which is to be compared with drama, with Korean drama. And you know that Korean drama is so successful from China, from everywhere in Southeast Asia. We have the same phenomena coming from Turkey, quite recently, finally, with a sense of storytelling, which has a global appeal for Muslim people from Indonesia to the Middle East, up to Eastern Europe. Now, Korean drama, everybody knows the phenomena. It even comes in some countries, 70% of the ranking in Mongolia, 70% of the drama, whatever, are coming from Korea. And more on that is that those Asian drama have become, on themselves, a little bit kind of a format. They've been localized. The story have been localized in so many countries. Like we could take in this example, Ukraine, Italy, but this example, 99 times 10, it's already dated now, but it was the first show coming from a Korean idea that was actually made in United States.
Yeah. So to you, Paul. The genres that
drama,
are in demand.
Again, just to genre demand breakdown for Asia, you see that animation is 8% and children 7%. So that's maybe the most important. So yes, the big trend today, however, is yes, that there's a very strong demand for drama.
But there's a demand for also kids content, which could be live as well as could be
kids
animation.
Content, now we have a very hot trend, which is live action. It's series combined with kids content becomes live action series.
Yeah.
The world we live in.
Okay, yeah. What we were saying.
The world we live in. We have a Taiwan company which is on Netflix now. I mean, we have many Indian shows now on Netflix. It's just again the idea that this content now is available for me to watch from France, from my sofa in France. And if the content is good, again, we don't care if it's coming from India or whatever. It's going to be watched.
Yeah. So this is telling you about the, what are distributors looking for when they come to MIPTV and MIPCOM. So they're mainly looking, a lot of them are looking for series, feature films. Animation is the third largest category that they're looking for. Then of course you've got movies, lifestyle, arts, music, and who are the top 10 producers who are coming here? They're from series, feature film, reality. Animation is the fourth largest number of producers who are attending MIPCOM and MIPTV.
So again, animation is still actually one of the genres which is traveling the more easily.
So it's among the top 5 genres.
Again, a complicated. If you put yourself in the boots of a buyer into those international platforms, that's always very interesting. You know, then when it is about to go international, lots of companies not yet prepare themselves. There is a strong learning curve to go to those markets, and sometimes it is important to understand what buyers want finally. And today, these are the big trends that we see. Buying linear together with digital rights is now standard.
And buyers are coping with different with the channels and platforms that are exploding.
TV consumption is of course becoming more international, so they are actually really open for more and more open countries. Asia, Europe, Africa, Latin America buying from Asia also, or from India. And children's programming. Children's programming needs and expectations are evolving. So live action and non-scripted formats are challenging animation's dominance. It's true. There's an animation dominance nowadays. There's an even stronger appetite for live action.
So this is for the Prasad. You wanted some figures. Here's some figures. How much you get paid? How much these markets are paying for an animation episode or per hour? So these are the broad rates that you have. Indonesia is paying pretty well compared to Eastern Europe. South America is less than Indonesia also. But Indonesia has changed in recent times. They're trying to restrict international content coming in. As is Sri Lanka, as other markets in the region, because they want to encourage local domestic content. So anyway, this is the revenue you could get from one episode. Okay.
Yeah. You want to show it? The video?
So, again, Paul, this is yours. Over to you.
Let's continue. I mean, it's just a glimpse about. I just wanted to give you an insights about those international platforms, what they are, what they could actually, where they could help in animation and IPs to go abroad. That's really actually the two main platforms to go. So these are numbers, right? I invite you to go on Google and Google it, MIPTV and MIPCOM. There's plenty. We have also for the kids content community,
side market which is called MIP Junior.
Which is called MIP Junior. Google it. Go by yourself. We will be able to come back. But again, executive summary from the buyers. That's what I was saying actually before. Mainly, effectively, like drama is actually something which is the big thing all over the world. But still, kids and teens content is also counting a lot. For example, on MIPTV, we have 998, so let's say 1,000 buyers dedicated for kids content. Again, same, lots of people coming, new exhibitors. We have an African pavilion coming from all over the world. I mean, from Gwangju, it's Korea, Beijing, and from Middle East.
So I thought from our side has been to build a pavilion from India at MIPCOM and MIPTV, and the last 10 days I've gone and meeting different governments, different associations in the hope of making it happening. Yesterday we had a good breakthrough. I hope it
we have coming from India, alongside the traditional broadcasters who are actually in this market since many years. We see and growing the Indian participation to those markets with companies in animation like Cosmos Maya, Green Gold, well, a few others.
GQ has been coming forever.
But they're exhibiting on
and then
their
smaller
position.
studios are coming in now.
We could take also the examples of One Life, which we'll be discussing, which is actually the position and the image from India through the key decision leaders of this industry.
Yeah, so we have a lot of facilities which allow you to fix your meetings, which allow you to reach out to the right audience you want. We have a very strong tool which is online. It's a matchmaking tool.
These are some image. So you see that this is the
festival where you have Aishwarya Rai walking down the red carpet. We see those visuals.
You see how people are actually defending their characters to sell their also animation. But that's it. It's a mix of visibility, networking, and standing out from the crowds. Could go very rapidly on this one. The next one. Here are just the one before. These are some examples of deals which are done. Here's some pictures of the exhibition floor.
We have a very strong innovation hub where we have AR, MR, VR. We've got 360-degree videos. We encourage smaller studios to come up and showcase their work. We get technology companies, we get hardware companies coming in, showcasing their latest, eyewear and everything else that they have to show. We have pitching areas where you can pitch your 360 content ideas, or your, or your VR, MR ideas.
VR and MR and AR, if we can say just a few words about that, is the idea is not to make people experience VR. It's not that. Our positioning is really to make it a market, how to monetize content, how to understand the trends that's in the industry, and how this is also changing the way of producing and telling story to people.
Yeah, so therefore we have a very strong leadership summit happening on immersive content. Plus we have, digital, where we show a lot of latest digital TV, digital content, which is coming on YouTube, on mobile, on other platforms. So we have a showcase coming in from different parts of the world. We have the International ME Kids Awards, which happen during MIP TV in April. Unlike, people think MIPCOM is a place where the kids' content marketplace is there, but it's a lot of kids' activities.
Kids' content and animation are very strong in those markets anyway. Yeah.
So again, world premiere screenings. This year we've got a Cannes series coming up. A lot of people come and announce their new projects at MIP TV. We also have a lot of stars at MIP TV.
We have a red carpet. This is the same place as the film festival.
Yeah, we've got Patrick Dempsey coming here. Devika's excited about that. I'm sure all of you know the gentleman from Grey's Anatomy. We are having the drama screens. We have an Indian company which has been accepted at least the acceptance stage. Now will come the shortlisting. We hope this Indian company's web series gets through in the final 10 shortlist. For the first time, we are having basically having a Cannes series competition. Where is the Cannes series? Do we have it here?
Maybe not.
Okay, we don't have it. So you go ahead with the MIP drama screening. Paul, over to you.
Well, I don't know if it's also very interesting for you guys in terms of that you are more, maybe in the audience in the room is more about animation and kids content. But just for you to know is that those platforms are actually made to showcase drama and world premiere from, it's actually where all the buyers are gathering to see the freshest content. So even if it's in drama, even if it's in animation, they're eager to see finished products, but not only. They're really seeking for ideas. We have a lot of investors who are coming to those markets, which are actually there to fund commissioners, people who are actually willing to put money, energy, resources into new IPs that are actually coming. This is the big trend in these markets.
So we've got some tips, if you'd like, we can share them with you, what you need to keep in mind when you're attending markets globally.
Because yes, there's a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
And it takes time to actually to get to profit from those markets. But yes, stay open. I mean, I was discussing just before the session with a company which is doing food shows, lifestyle food shows, and they were talking about this strategy. Do I get my content to my distributors as usual? Let's say yes, I'm paying something like 35%. Or even more, 35 to 40%.
Anyway, 35 to 50% is what
for them, and they go to those international market and they represent me, and that's okay. Or do I get my IPs? Do I get my content? And should I make the shift to actually making my footprint over there?
And building your network, building your relationships,
exactly, this kind of thing.
forecasting trends and creating content which could travel. But I guess that's great anyway. Thanks.